They said I was a monster, that I destroyed my own family and abandoned my son without a word. But what no one knew was, I had taken the blame for something that would have ruined his life, and I was ready to carry that secret to my grave, until he found the letter. My name is Marcus, and 15 years ago, I walked out of my son's life without saying goodbye. He was 10. That night, he sat at the kitchen table drawing a picture of our dog with a crayon in one hand and a cup of chocolate milk in the other. He looked up at me and smiled, and I couldn't even say goodbye, because if I had, I might have stayed. And if I had stayed, the truth would have come out, and it would have destroyed him. I wasn't the perfect husband, and I sure as hell wasn't the perfect father, but I loved my son like air. And that's why I let the world believe I was the one who ruined everything. Because the real story was too ugly to speak. Started with a fight. Not between me and my son, between me and Olivia, his mother. She had found something, a photo tucked inside Jonah's backpack. A photo of a girl from his class. Someone he liked. But it wasn't just a photo. It had writing on the back. And the writing wasn't sweet. It was cruel. It was angry. It was dangerous. And it wasn't just written. It was threatening. When I confronted Jonah, he swore he didn't write it. Said someone must have slipped it in. Said he didn't know how it got there. But the handwriting matched. Perfectly. Olivia lost it. Started screaming that he was dangerous. That there was something wrong with him. That he needed real help. Not grounding. Not counseling. She wanted to send him away. I said no. I told her it was a mistake. That he was just a boy. That kids lash out. They do stupid things. But he wasn't evil. Then she made the call anyway. To the police. To child services. She was going to report him. I begged her to stop. Begged her to let me handle it. I told her if the system got involved, his life would be over before it ever began. That's when she gave me a look I'll never forget. Cold. Calculated. And she said, "Then take the blame. Say it was you. Say you wrote it." I thought she was joking. She wasn't. She said it was better the world thought I was the problem. Better for Jonah to grow up hating me than to grow up labeled, watched, followed, medicated. And when the police came, I did what she asked. I told them the note was mine. That I had put it in my son's backpack by mistake. That I was the one with the problem. I was handcuffed in front of my son. He cried and begged them not to take me. I kept my eyes on the floor. They never pressed charges. There wasn't enough. Just suspicion. But the damage was done. Olivia used the incident to file for separation. Full custody. She changed Jonah's school. Changed their address. Changed their number. I never saw him again. Until last week. I came home from work, tired, soaked in rain, and there he was. A man now. Taller than me. Same brown eyes. He didn't say anything at first. Just stood on my porch, holding something in his hands. An envelope. Worn. Yellowed. Torn at the edge. When I stepped closer, my heart stopped. It was my handwriting. One of the letters I wrote after I left. The ones Olivia swore she burned. He looked me in the eye and said, "Why did you lie to protect me?" I couldn't speak. My chest felt like it had collapsed. Every word I'd rehearsed for 15 years vanished. He stepped inside, soaked from the rain. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table. And then he reached into his backpack. He pulled out more letters. Old ones. Some unopened. Some crumpled. All of them mine. He had found them in Olivia's attic. And with them, something else. A second envelope. Not written by me. One I didn't recognize. Inside was the original note. The one from his backpack. And taped to it was something I never expected. A handwriting analysis report. Jonah slid it across the table like he was giving me a piece of his childhood back. The report said the writing didn't match his. Didn't match mine either. It matched Olivia's. I blinked, confused, but Jonah looked at me, calm but broken, and said, She wrote it. She planted it. She made you take the fall. And just like that, everything I had buried started clawing its way to the surface. Flashback. The night she found the note. How quickly she jumped to conclusions. How rehearsed her outrage felt. How she insisted on calling the police before I'd even finished reading it. Her trembling hands, that suddenly stopped shaking the second they cuffed me. Back then, I didn't let myself question it. I just wanted to protect my son. But now I saw it clearly. She hadn't panicked. She'd planned. And Jonah, my son now a man, had pieced it together from every letter, every lie, every slip she'd made over the years. He leaned forward, his voice low. Why did she do it, Dad? Why would she frame me and make you take the blame? I could feel the air leave the room. And for the first time in 15 years, I told him everything. Flashback. The night before the incident. Olivia had confronted me. She said she was done pretending. Said she was tired of being a mother, tired of being trapped by a life she never wanted. She had started seeing someone. A man with no kids. A man who didn't want any. And she said she couldn't have Jonah in the way. I'd thought she meant divorce. Shared custody. Some ugly battle I'd eventually win. But she was smarter than that. She knew full custody would be hard to get if I fought back. She needed me gone. Hated. Erased. So she made me the monster. She forged the note. Stuck it in Jonah's backpack. Told me it was real. Goaded me into protecting him. And let me take the fall. And it worked. For 15 years, my son thought I was the villain. And she, the savior. Jonah sat in silence, staring at the letter. His jaw clenched. His hand trembled. She told me you left because you were sick. That you didn't love me. That I was better off without you. I wanted to cry. But the tears wouldn't come. They never did. Not since that day. I hated you, he whispered. Every birthday. Every Father's Day. I hated you so much it made me sick. I nodded, choking on guilt. I know. He slammed his fist on the table. But you didn't fight for me. That was the knife I'd feared for 15 years. And I didn't run from it. I sat still. And I told him the truth. I wrote you every week. I called. I begged to see you. But she made it impossible. I couldn't afford a lawyer. I couldn't prove anything. And if I pushed too hard, they would have reopened the case and made you the villain again. I stayed away to protect you. Because I loved you more than I loved being your father. He didn't respond right away. But I saw it in his eyes. The storm he'd carried for years was finally unraveling. And then, he pulled out one more item from his bag. A photo. Me, holding him when he was just a baby. Both of us smiling. Faces full of light before the storm ever touched us. On the back, in faded ink, I had written, "You are my whole world. Never forget it." He looked at me. Tears finally spilling down his cheeks. I didn't. I just didn't know it yet. I'm going to ask her what she does when the lies stop working. He didn't invite me along. I didn't ask to go. But less than 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. One word. Come. When I arrived, her front door was wide open. The house looked the same, but smaller, like it had shrunk under the weight of everything hidden inside. I stepped in and found Jonah in the living room. And Olivia, sitting on the couch like a ghost. She didn't look surprised to see me. Didn't even blink. "So," she said calmly. "He told you." Jonah's voice was cold. "No. You told me. With every lie you raised me on." She scoffed. "I did what I had to do. You wouldn't understand." He stepped closer. "Make me understand. Tell me why you destroyed 2 lives to keep yours neat and tidy." Her hands shook slightly. But still, her voice stayed calm, that practiced calm of someone who's always been in control. "I was drowning. Your father wasn't who you think he is. He was angry, unpredictable." "Enough," Jonah snapped. I read the court transcripts. I read the letters. I heard the tape you left in the attic. She froze. That tape was never meant to be found. You knew the truth, Jonah said, eyes burning. You knew it all, and you watched me grow up hating him. She looked at me then, really looked, and for the first time in decades, I saw fear in her eyes. Not because she was being exposed, but because she realized she had lost control of the one person she still thought she owned. She stood up, tried to touch Jonah's arm. Sweetheart. He pulled away. No, you don't get to call me that anymore. I should have left. But Jonah turned to me, said, you deserve to hear it. All of it. From her. So I stayed. And Olivia finally spoke. She admitted it. All of it. The forged note. The anonymous call to child services. The lies to the court. The false diary entries she found to prove Jonah had been disturbed. I thought I could start over, she said, like it was a confession and an excuse all at once. I thought if I erased you both, I could finally be free. Jonah sat down slowly and whispered, then why have I never felt free a single day in my life? She tried to apologize. Not to me. To him. I did it for you, Jonah. I wanted better for you. But he just stared at her like he was seeing a stranger. You did it to me. Not for me. And then he said something I will never forget. I missed out on my father, but you missed out on your son. And with that, he walked out. Didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just left her in the same silence she'd left me in 15 years ago. And this time, I followed him. That night, we didn't talk much. He stayed at my apartment again, but this time, he brought a bag, as if he was staying longer. Maybe he was. Before bed, he turned to me and asked, do you still have the letters you wrote me? I nodded. All of them. In a box. Never stopped writing. Can I read them? I handed him the box. He stayed up until dawn. By morning, the box was empty. Every letter unfolded, some pages trembling in his hands from old creases and fresh weight. Jonah didn't speak much, but I saw it in his eyes. A man rethreading a life he thought he'd never get back. When he looked up, his voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. You remembered everything. I nodded. I tried to give you something to hold on to, even if you didn't know it was there. He paused, then reached for one letter, the one from his 10th birthday. The one where I described building a treehouse I knew I'd never get to show him. I used to dream of that treehouse, he said. I thought I made it up. We sat in silence. Then he asked, can we go there? We did. The place was run down now, the tree barely standing, but the platform was still there, a few boards nailed together with crooked hands and stubborn hope. He climbed it like a kid again, and I stood below, watching him reclaim something that was stolen. He sat on the edge, legs dangling, and called down. Do you think we can start over? I looked up at him. We're not starting over. We're starting from here. And that was enough. In the weeks that followed, Jonah moved in with me. It wasn't supposed to be permanent, but the longer he stayed, the quieter his nightmares became. I'd hear him cry some nights. Not loud, just little cracks in the dark, and I never said anything. I just sat nearby until he fell asleep again. We didn't talk about Olivia. Not until the envelope arrived. It was from her. No return address, just his name. He opened it, hesitated, then handed it to me. Inside was a photo, Jonah as a toddler on her lap, and me, standing in the background, half cropped out. The caption on the back read, we both failed him in different ways. Underneath was a check, a large one, too large. Jonah stared at it. She's trying to pay for silence. I handed it back. What will you do? He didn't even blink. Donate it. To kids in the system. Ones like I used to be. And just like that, I realized he wasn't the boy I lost. He was the man I was proud of. But the story doesn't end here. Not yet. There's still one more chapter we haven't touched. The secret I never told him. The real reason I took the fall 15 years ago. Not just to protect him from her lies, but because of something that happened the night before she threw me out. Something only I knew. The truth was heavy in my chest for years. Not because I couldn't say it, but because I didn't know how to say it without breaking what little of Jonah's world was left standing. The night before Olivia accused me. Before the police knocked. Before the courtroom and the silence and the lost years. Something happened that no one else saw. I came home late, not from some shady errand or secret affair. I was coming back from the hospital, because Jonah had been in a fight at school. They didn't call Olivia, they called me. He asked them to. He was 12. Small, smart, but quiet. Too quiet. A group of older kids had pinned him in the locker room. They didn't take his money. They didn't break his bones. They whispered things. About Olivia. About rumors I never knew were being passed around. When I got to the hospital, he looked at me with bruises on his ribs and tears in his eyes. And he said, "Dad, are they right? Are you not my real father?" I sat there, stunned. Because I was his father. Blood or not. I raised him, protected him, read him bedtime stories, taught him how to ride a bike. But Olivia, she had told people things. Fed a whisper network to cover her own tracks. And it made its way to Jonah's school. I held his hand that night. Told him he was mine. That no matter what anyone said, nothing could change the truth of how much I loved him. But something broke in him. And something broke in me. I knew if I stayed, he would never believe in anything again. Not in love. Not in stability. Not in family. So I made a decision. I told Olivia I'd take the blame. I told her I'd leave. That I wouldn't fight her lies. If she promised to protect Jonah's sense of safety. His peace. His chance to grow up without looking over his shoulder. She agreed. And then stabbed me deeper than I thought possible. She didn't just tell Jonah I left. She told him I had betrayed him. That I'd never loved him. That I chose to disappear. It shattered everything. As I sat across from him now, years later, watching him rebuild his life. Reading my letters. Sitting in the house we were slowly turning into a home again. I realized the moment had come. I told him everything. The school fight. The hospital. His question. My decision. At first, he didn't say a word. Then he stood. Walked across the room. And just held me. Tight. "You shouldn't have done that," he whispered. "You shouldn't have given up your life for mine." I held him back just as tight. But I'd do it again. And for the first time in 15 years, we cried together. As father and son. With nothing left between us but the truth. The next morning, we built something together. Not a treehouse, not a monument. Just a frame for a photo. The one of us when he was 5. Laughing, both of us soaked after a backyard water fight. He placed it on the mantle and said, "This is where our story starts." And this time, I believed him. Because this time, it was our choice. Not hers. Not the courts. Not the silence. Ours. Finally. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories.